Lebanon's domestic refugees are scattered across Beirut.
So these are families displaced. This is the waterfront area.
Sheltering where they can, on open ground and in the city's schools.
This is the kind of living space, and the bedroom is over there. We're talking about water and basic infrastructure. Many of these shelters are they're schools, they're football stadium. They're not intended for people to live there for a long time.
This is what they're escaping. Israeli attacks on the city's crowded southern suburbs, home to many of the city's Shia Muslims, where support is strongest for Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militia. The war erupted on March 1 when Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel after the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. The Hezbollah and Iranian attacks continued daily, keeping Israelis close to their bomb shelters. Yesterday, Benjamin Netanyahu was out and about, reassuring citizens that victory is close.
מצוין, זה בדיוק, את אמרת הכי טוב. הציבור מבין את העניין.
As well as bombing Beirut, the Israeli military is now pushing into southern Lebanon. As it attacks, locals are told to move north. So far, around 800,000 people have been displaced.
What is really concerning, if this continue to escalate, that means that more infrastructure would be targeted, and this comes at a very wrong moment for Lebanon.
Lebanon has been in cascading crises since 2020. First, COVID. Then an explosion at the city's port, devastating central Beirut. And a currency collapse and hyperinflation.
There's an economic crisis going on in the country. People's savings have been depleted because this is likely their second time being displaced. So right now we're in a very fragile situation.
Now, war.
And this war can really be a tipping point that is threatening the very existence of this country.
Lebanon's government had promised to disarm Hezbollah. The nation's new Prime Minister, elected last year, had taken a huge risk by speaking out against the militia.
لنشاطات حزب الله الأمنية والعسكرية كافة باعتبارها خارجة عن القانون وإلزامه بتسليم سلاحه إلى الدولة اللبنانية.
And this is unprecedented. However, the implementation does not match the talk.
The problem, Hezbollah is arguably more powerful than the state.
And this window of opportunity for the Lebanese government to assert its own control has vanished. And now Hezbollah decided to launch this missile to Israel in support of Iran. And now Israel is trying to dismantle Hezbollah through its own means.
I think what basically the Israeli operation is doing, they're weakening the position of the Lebanese government further. And if there is a collapse of the government, then I think that grounds will be ripened for another round of civil war. That's not really going to benefit anybody.
The last Lebanese power vacuum led to a vicious 15-year civil war, marked by the massacre of civilians, an explosion of international terrorism, and an Israeli invasion and long occupation.
Israel had done it before. They done it in 1982, and then they get it 2006, and so on. In the past, they've not been terribly successful, and then finally Israelis have withdrawn. But this time, it looks like that Israel is determined to remain in occupation of southern Lebanon.
That would not be in Israel's interests, said Alon Pincus, a former Israeli diplomat.
And so an Israeli military occupation in the south of Lebanon would achieve nothing other than turn Israeli soldiers into sitting ducks, as was the case until Israel withdrew in May of 2000.
He believes Benjamin Netanyahu does not plan to leave troops in Lebanon for long.
No, but then again, every occupation in Lebanon began with what the government declared would be a very limited in scope and duration operation, and then ended up being a de facto military occupation.
This conflict carries a substantial risk for the Israeli Prime Minister, who is facing both a corruption trial and parliamentary elections later this year.
It depends how it all ends. If this becomes a war of attrition again, if the northern part of Israel is constantly bombarded with missiles, rockets, and drones, which is the case in the last 10 days, and if the war in Iran stops, yet the war in Lebanon continues, then I can see his popularity plummeting.